So welcome to Glashütte, and it's a sunny day out here. I'm here with my good friend Alexander Philipp, who is the director of sales and marketing for Tutima. And how are you doing, Alexander?
Thank you, Bhanu. Thank you for coming here. It's nice to have you in Glashütte in our Tutima factory this day. And by the way, the weather is beautiful, and we have a special, beautiful project to present to you afterwards. And it's great to have you here.
Great. So let's get into it. I think before we get into the project itself, let's talk about the history of Tutima.
So we have a long tradition and history. Well, the brand's age is almost 100 years. So the brand was founded in 1927 here in Glashütte, East Germany, and was producing wristwatches, many wristwatches. And unfortunately, after 1945, the founder, Dr. Ernst Kurz, had to leave Glashütte because of the fact that it was bombed in the last days of the war. And Dr. Kurz went to West Germany, to Ganderkesee, which is close to Bremen. And so the company was there all the decades until we came back in 2008 to this birthplace in Glashütte. Because, you know, it was, as we are a family-run business, 100% family-owned business, it was always for all of the family clear and the wish to bring back the brand one day to its place of birth. But it was not possible to do it immediately right after the wall fell. But now we had a big challenge when we started here, because we developed completely own new in-house movements, respecting the old traditional Glashütte watchmaking, high-end watchmaking. So that means craftsmanship was important, the beauty of the parts is important. And the very first project was the Homage minute repeater. And by the way, the Homage minute repeater was the very first minute repeater ever developed in-house in Germany for a wristwatch. Nobody did it before.
That's impressive, yeah.
And you can imagine the finishing of the parts is stunningly, perfectly. We are polishing all steel parts on tin, which gives the best surface. We have high-end wheels and our own escapement system. And for sure, to bring back the brand from West Germany to East Germany, not East Germany, but to Glashütte, it requires to have own movements. So we had to develop own movements for the whole collection. And it was a good and important step for us.
So let's get into the project itself. Let's start with the very first, the beginning of this project, you know, even before this project, the history of what this project is, and what the watch is. The reference 798, the really famous NATO chronograph that came out in the 80s. Tell us a little bit about the history of NATO chronograph and the reference 798.
Yeah, it was an interesting time at this stage. The German armed forces were looking for a new watch for their pilots, official watch. And Tutima had a perfect concept to realize all these requirements and demands, which were really high. And we designed a complete new watch that didn't exist before in this shape. Because, for example, they have the demand was to have no sharp edges at the cage. So we rounded up the edges because we want to avoid that the pilot can hurt himself. The pushers had to be integrated into the case.
Okay.
And therefore we developed big pusher systems. And in the same time, the watch had to be water resistant. That was not possible at this time before. So it was a unique project. The case is still unique in the shape and in the design and on a quality level which is high end. And then in the early 80s, the pilots of the German Air Forces got the watch and they use it every day, still today. And important is for sure that the readability is very high. And the watches had chronograph with a minute counter indication from the center. So it was quite easy to see and to read the minutes, the stop minutes.
Yeah, and you know that the interesting part of this watch was first it was following the predecessors of all the military chronographs, the Lemania 5100, which obviously got discontinued when brigade bought the Lemania, so I think the caliber was no longer produced at some point in the early 90s. Again, the legendary, reference 798 not only made it in the NATO and NATO forces all around the world, including German NATO forces, but also it was in space at some point.
Yeah, that's correct. So what you say, the watch was in space for a week at the Mir space station, and before that, for sure, the watch had to absolve a lot of tests, shock test, vibration test, flight test in 15 kilometer height. And so we also got the official NATO acceptance certificate, so the NATO countries could also use them after the German armed air forces had it. And this is really a great piece still today.
No, I think it was very sad to see this discontinued. Unfortunately, the parts were no longer being made, so the watch got discontinued even from Tutima. But once you return to Glashütte, and I believe it was in Basel World 2016, I remember first seeing this M2 chronograph at that time I was like, wow, this thing is back again. So tell us a little bit more about the M2 chronograph. How did this thing return? What were the different features of this? How did you resurrect this watch in your first collection?
So the first difference is that the case is made of pure titanium, grade 2, which is a very light material and absolutely comfortable to wear. Then you have a bigger size, and the cage inside the titanium case made of soft iron to protect the movement against magnetism. This is a big difference. Then we have an anti-slippery surface on the pushes that you can, and also the pilots can really use it, the pushes, with their gloves that they have to wear in their cockpits. And by the way, the watch now is 300 meter water resistant. Before it was only 200 meter water resistant. And the sapphire crystal is 2.5 millimeters high. Anti-reflex coated from both sides, so you have an enormous good readability on the watch. And still having the minute counter from the center.
Absolutely understand, and I think that if I were to compare this to the original reference 798, even though it's a bigger watch and more modern watch, it would definitely surpass any of the standards that watch was built on when it was a bid that was won by Tutima when the German armed forces put the bid together for this, and they put the specifications together. I would think that this modern specifications would easily surpass the original specifications. So M2 Chronograph was the very first release in 2016 when you moved back to Glashütte. Then in 2021, the M2 Chronograph, Coastline Chronograph came out, which was pretty perfect. I would say not replica, but as close as possible to the reference 798, same size, the appearance, everything looks fairly close. So tell us about this.
So the M2 Coastline Chronograph, as you said, is exactly the same size as the NATO chronograph, 43 millimeters, but it's now coming in pure titanium, grade 2, and has a brushed surface, which makes it look really nice. And the big pushes are equipped with the anti-slip surface, so you can really have a good grip with your gloves while using it. For sure, you always have the sapphire glass and
a 200 meter rating.
200 meter water resistance, exactly. And you can choose between titanium bracelet or a rubber strap, whatever the client prefers. And it's still beautiful, timeless watch.
Oh, that's great. So I think this one came out in 2021. which became kind of an obsession for us. You know, at Revolution we thought that this would be a really good canvas for us to make this a project watch. So even though we came later to you in 2022, early 2022 to discuss this, it took a good 1 year for this project, maybe 1 year plus for this project. So let's discuss about the Tutima project for Revolution. How did that come about?
Well, we had a special limited edition done for Flieger Friday. It was a chronograph that was a big success. It was sold out immediately. So we thought of making a new limited edition with Revolution based on the NATO chronograph 798, which was also for us a very special project. And as you know, the NATO chronograph is still very famous Tutima watch, and now with the new shape and design, I think it will be a stunning piece for the clients as well and all the collectors.
Absolutely. I think when you think about Tutima, you know, the number one thing you think about, of course, is the 1941 Flieger, the classic Flieger. But then the second one, right above, next to it, is the NATO chronograph, because both of them are classics, and I would say are something that is almost, I know it sounds cliche, but the DNA of Tutima, that it's associated with Tutima, that these are the two classic Fliegers. Of course, now Tutima is manufacturing a lot of beautiful high-end watches as well, and this is the return of Glashütte for Tutima, but also is the Flieger history with Tutima. So I'm really glad that we worked together to work on this Revolution edition. Tell us, what are the differentiation between the normal M2 Coastline Chronograph and the Revolution edition that you have with you?
So first of all, we wanted to really adapt the military look of the watch. So it's a tough watch, or a watch for every occasion to wear. And new and different is for sure the color of the case. It's still a titanium case, but now black PVD coated, and the whole case and the clasp is PVD coated. And by the way, we have also a sapphire case back on the back side, which is new because the complete M2 collection has always closed massive case backs, and this is really an exception that we did it.
And still 200 meters.
Still 200 meters.
Yeah.
And you have through the case back a look on the beautiful movement and the nice parts like the rotor, which is equipped with the 18 karat gold seal, which is also in-house made. And so it's a beautiful watch. And then you have this rubber strap with a Kevlar inlay on top, which gives a tough look, and the green stitching, which matches the green accents of the hands of the chronograph. So it's a black and green edition watch.
That's really good combination. I mean, it looks stunning when you wear it on your wrist. It looks amazing. You know, I mean, like you said, it's a tough and it's a military look, and it's something you can effortlessly. It's light because it's titanium. You can wear it very easily. It's easy to wear.
Absolutely.
It turned out very good.
You will love it once you have it on your wrist.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for actually humoring us to make this project and to engaging with us and to partnering with us to make this project. I really appreciate that, and I'm sure Wave appreciates it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhanu. Thank you for coming here, and it was a very nice and good project for us. We are proud of this beautiful watch, and I think everybody who's got it on his wrist will love it.
Great.
Bye-bye.